This is lesson 3-2, multiplication with non-unit fractions. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to multiply a whole number by a fraction. In this example, it says that Prairie Town is 15 miles away. If you have driven 1/3 of the distance to Prairie Town, how many miles have you gone? To think about this problem, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. If you imagine a number line where you are is a starting point, so we would consider that 0. Prairie Town is 15 miles away. Since it says that you have driven 1/3 of the distance to that town, you can break this number line into 3 equal-sized pieces. To determine the distance for each third, simply divide 15 by 3. The first distance then would be 5 miles. Since each third is equal to 5 miles, 2/3 would be 10 miles. If you've driven 1/3 of the distance to Prairie Town, you have driven 5 miles. Using what you just figured out, we can answer the next question. Prairie Town is still 15 miles away. How far would you have gone if you drove 2/3 of the way to Prairie Town? Taking that same number line, starting point is 0, Prairie Town is 15 miles away. If you can figure out how much each third is, which we did, 5 miles, 2/3 would be twice as much as 1/3, because 2 is equal to 1 times 2. So 2/3 is 10 miles. We can even show a double number line that labels the thirds. 3/3, which is the entire distance, is equal to 15 miles. And each third is 5 miles, so 2/3 would be 10 miles away. Just remember, to show the thirds, divide the number line into 3 equal parts of 5, because 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. 1/3 of the way is 5 miles, and 2/3 of the way is 10 miles. If you know that 1/3 of the distance is 5 miles, because 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 2/3 is twice as far as 1/3, you can multiply 5 by 2 to get 10. Here's a couple of practice examples. The first question says, what is 1/4 of 24? Remember, of means multiply in math. So 1/3 of 24 is the same thing as 1/4 times 24. I think I just misspoke. I think I said 1/3 of 24, but I meant 1/4 of 24. To find 1/4 of 24, we're really asking what is 24 divided by 4, and that would be equal to 6. If we want to know what 3/4 of 24 is, we can use what we know about 1/4 of 24. Since 1/4 of 24 is equal to 6, 3/4 would be 3 times 6, because it's 3 times the amount. 24 divided by 4 multiplied by 3 is 18. The next one asks, what is 1/5 of 40? And then what is 4/5 of 40? To find 1/5 of 40, we would multiply 1/5 times 40. That is the same thing as 40 divided by 5, which equals 8. 4/5 of 40 is the same thing as 40 divided by 5, and then multiply that by 4, since 4/5 is 4 times as great as 1/5, for a total of 32. The next problem is asking what is 2/3 of 21? You'd solve this the exact same way. The idea is that you're not given the question of 1/3 of 21 first, but you should still think, well, what is 1/3 of 21? If you know that 1/3 of 21 is the same thing as 21 divided by 3, which is equal to 7, 2/3 of 21 would be 2 times as much as that, which is the total of 14. So remember, 2/3 of 21 is the same thing as 2/3 times 21. That is equal to 21 divided by 3, and then multiply that by 2. 7 times 2 is 14. The next question is using variables to get you to understand the generalization or the general rule. It's asking what is the fraction a over b of a whole number w? A over b of w is the same thing as a over b times w. This is just asking any fraction of a whole number when the denominator goes into the whole number evenly. Divide the whole number by the denominator and then multiply that by the numerator.